Hello, everyone. I'm Felicia Rondo, and that's close over there.
Hey, and welcome to Bit Silly Plays, the channel where we review comic books.
Among other things. And this is our first review of not only a Harley Quinn comic, but a comic book written by Tini Howard. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you've been following us at all on social media, you know we have been praising this writer to the high heavens for
Yeah.
months.
Tini Howard first came to our attention with her work on Catwoman.
Yeah, ironically with, or not ironically, but like just with her
Fittingly.
Fittingly, thank you. With her issues include guest featuring Harley Quinn in the Catwoman comic.
Yeah.
After,
Which
yeah,
Felisa read, and then you went back to the beginning of her run on Catwoman, which
which is 39.
was
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we read it together, and it was just fantastic, and now we're reading it as it comes out.
Yeah, and we may decide to go ahead and read that as it comes out later, but right now it feels like this is a good place to start checking out her books. And boy howdy, I I haven't been keeping up with the Harley Quinn comic series up until this point, so there's a lot of context I lack, but I loved this issue.
Personally, I felt like the only added context I have is I had read the first issue of this comic, and I hated it.
Yeah, sometimes comics go like that.
The only added context I had was that I was aware of the existence of a character
Yeah.
who debuted in that first issue.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
And they show up here. But yeah, it's a new creative team with Tini Howard and Sweeney Boo. And without further ado, I guess let's just jump in.
Yeah. Um, let's do it.
Yeah. So the first page features a nice like full bit of art here with Harley Quinn about to mallet Two-Face.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting him to be such a big player, but sure enough.
Or to be here at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But here he is.
Saying that Harley Quinn has clowned on him for the last time, and Harley retorts that they're just getting started. And hey Freyo in chat, good to see you.
Hey, Freyo.
We are just getting started here with Harley Quinn, Girl in a Crisis Part 1. Get it? Because it's DC Comics. It's crises.
Crisis.
Yeah.
On an indeterminate amount of Earths.
More on that later.
Yeah. So yeah, Harley starts up a good old narration that you would expect to be, this is how I got here, but
It's she's actually really busy right now, so she really doesn't
yeah.
have the time for. She says, "Oh fuck, hi, listen, I don't really got time for a comprehensive. You're probably wondering how I got here moment, so let me fill you in as fast as possible."
Which is
And
very fun and very Harley.
yes, it's already off to just a beautiful start. And we get the following page with just a montage of shenanigans and all that stuff with Harley Quinn fucking with Two-Face. As she says that she lives in Gotham and she's just a typical girl, the modern girl even, some would say, trying to fill her days what she's best at. She's really good at beating the crap out of people, and she's got like no risk awareness, so here she is fighting Two-Face. She botched up his bank robbery, he kidnapped some of her hired goons, she upperdecked his master bedroom toilet, things have escalated.
Yeah.
And and she also mentions that, her girlfriend, Poison Ivy, is out of town on a road trip, leaving her alone in their apartment, and Harley doesn't think it's a big deal.
It's very fun, this moment.
Yeah, she's like screaming and kneeing Two-Face in the face as she narrates, "I don't think it's affecting my behavior." And then she says to her rent-a-goons, "Okay, boys, the civilians all safe? Then light this place up." And then shit sets on fucking fire. She says to, I'm not exactly sure what she's saying here. Because there's lots of bleeped,
Yeah.
dialogue in this, book. But, I, as we were reading it, I chose to interpret it as fuck my ass, Two-Face.
I think that's probably the intention.
Mm-hmm. Two-Face starts to strangle Harley.
Yeah, being very aggressive and violent as he tends to be.
Yes.
But Harley, very using her skills as a wily mental doctor lady, notes that he is not wearing one of his shoes.
Mm-hmm. And this brings the towering menace of Two-Face toppling down at the seams, saying,
Because
"They're supposed to be a pair."
and I love Harley's retort of, "Yeah, most shoes are."
And he's like,
Very good.
These are Italian. These are two of them. And then Harley says, "That's really gonna bake your noodle, isn't it, old Tufa?" And
Two-Face orders his goons to forget Harley and instead look for his shoes.
And that this isn't over, Harley Quinn.
We cut to Harley negotiating pay with her two clown-themed goons that she has.
Yeah. She says that she said 60 each, but one of the goons remarks that their fee includes costume rental.
Yeah, because, the gig economy is not been kind to anyone, least of all, the Renegoons.
They gotta advocate for themselves, or nobody else will. One remarks, "The big villain will chew them up and spit them out." And that is so true.
Yeah, it's just, this is a relatable plight, when you're just going about being, the hired guns for some costume criminal, like...
It's the plight of the
your
modern
job security. Yeah, your job security is not great.
Yeah. Harley, with a sigh, gives them 100 each because things went well and she's in such a good mood about it. And says, "Let's do it again next weekend." And one of them says, we'll see.
Yeah, and the other remarks that this makeup's doing a number on his pores, Because they're all dressed up in the clown makeup. They got the gestury costumes, because it's the thing to do.
And as Harley enters back into her apartment that she has with Poison Ivy, who's away right now, but also with her hyenas who have dyed hair.
Yeah, specifically they're like
blue and pink.
Their top fringe part.
Yes.
I'm not sure which color Bud is and which color Lou is, but
they seem happy anyway.
Yeah.
Harley remarks, "Enough of them. They can have a good time here at night. Right, boys?" With Lou and Bud.
Yeah.
And
revealing that she, in addition to confirming that yes, she stole Two-Face's shoe, she also stole his credit card.
Mm-hmm.
And has used that to go grocery shopping.
Yeah. And nothing makes her feel like more of a party and mood than stuff in the fridge with groceries. And then she says, "Now, Bud, Lou, you may have noticed that I didn't buy any veggies. And that's because she gets enough greens when Ivy's around." She hates that joke, so Harley apologizes if she keeps repeating it. She'll be shelving when Ivy gets home, and she's gotta get all her bad habits out of her system.
Yeah, and we see that the apartment is just a total wreck.
Yeah.
Harley's got her feet up on the table. The plants are dying. Mm-hmm. Nothing is well. She's clearly not coping well with Ivy being out of town.
Yes. And as one of the hyenas looks at her, Harley, in a very emotionally fragile state, is like, "What? Don't you judge me. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of criminal mischief. You should have seen the sort of stuff Ives and I got into when we met.
And meanwhile, the hyena is just staring at her like a hyena with the tongue hanging out, going, like
a hyenas do.
Yeah, no judgment is happening. They're just hanging out and being hyenas.
And Harley's fucking insecurities are running her ragged.
Mm-hmm.
As she remarks, if anything, she'll probably join in and have a little fun when she gets back. And reminisces. That's where she's at this point.
Yeah.
Talk about how they used to love giving guys like Two-Face a rash of shit. And
presumably shit.
Yeah. It's all censored. Fucking Comic Code Authority.
Actually, I'm not really sure why, I don't actually get why Batman comics have all this swearing that is then censored, because, Batman comics constantly have a ton of really intense, grotesque violence.
Yeah.
You'd think Batman could say fuck. I mean, at least we're not in Batman where it gets censored by bats.
Yeah,
at least it's the traditional, fucking pound sign at and percentage.
Yeah, dollar sign. Good times.
Good stuff.
Maybe it's flavor. Maybe it's just here for flavor.
Maybe it's just mostly here for tradition's sake more than
Yeah.
But it does just strike me as a little weird when the Batman comics do it.
Yeah. And Harley, lying down on the sofa, just says, I think this is real special. Ivy and me and Ivy. This is our place. Even if she isn't here right now, I take care of it for when she comes home. And then
through the window comes what I believe to be a brick with a note tied to it.
And Harley exclaims, "Oh, a note!"
And with a grin on her face, she reads,
"I'll burn your love nest down, kill you, and your little side salad. Regards, Two-Face."
Harley begins to laugh.
She just starts laughing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she
leans back and looks up with a manic grin as lightning flashes through the window.
Staring directly at the readers, saying,
"Well, boys, he can try."
And we cut to fucking Harley hanging out with her pal Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin is the character that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I do just want to preface with some of my thoughts going into this issue, because, of course, I mentioned I read Stephanie Phillips's first issue, and Stephanie Phillips wrote 1 through 27, I believe. I wasn't keeping up with it because, again, I was offended by issue 1 of this comic. Mm-hmm. I hated it, not just because I didn't think it was well written. I didn't think it was well written. I detest Stephanie Phillips's work. But honestly, a lot of my problems with it were actually centered around this character, Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin is a fat character.
Yes.
To give a little background on who he is, he was a former, goon of the Jokers or something. He's got, this clown smiley tattoo on his neck, and he has green hair, just kind of permanently, and, this kind of thing is just something that has marked him as a target.
Yes.
And in this comic, in this issue 28, he is drawn and written as very much a person. Mm-hmm. And he's treated as a person. And I remark on that because he was drawn, in my opinion, in issue 1, the only issue I bothered to read because I hated it, in a very caricaturized way.
Yeah.
And as a fat person, it's been a while. It's been since the comic was new in 2021, because I read it around when it came out. I think actually almost when it came out. I checked it out and I read it and I hated it. So I don't remember all the details, but I remember really hating how he was written, how Harley acted towards him, and all that. And thankfully, I don't get any of those vibes here. I like much more how he's drawn. I like much more how he's treated by the story.
He just
And I
seems
just
like a
wanted to,
man.
yeah. And my entire association with this comic was that first issue, and so when I heard that Tini Howard was going to be taking over on this comic, I was elated. Because the whole reason I checked out the Harley Quinn ongoing in the first place is because I think Harley's a really neat character, and I thought it would have been really nice to just have an ongoing Harley Quinn that would be fun to read, as it came out. And with Tini Howard at the reins, I feel pretty confident that we can actually get that.
Yeah. Freya writes in chat, I'm glad this issue is better with that. I'm glad too.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to where this comic goes. But Kevin here is talking about learning to cook, presumably at a community class, based on what he's saying.
Yeah. And
He said he could just learn to cook from YouTube, but food is about community, so community college it is. It's right in the name.
Harley's not paying much attention at all, just saying, all taking her phone.
Yeah. And then Kevin says, Harley.
Kevin.
And she replies, yeah, Kevin. He asks what she's looking at on her phone.
And Harley says she's trying to show him. And that she remarks that she grabbed some drone footage of her showdown with Two-Face down by the Ferris wheel the other night. It was hilarious.
Kevin quickly remarks that he doesn't want to see it, as Harley continues.
And says finally you'll understand why they call it an amusement value, you'll be amused. And then as what he said hits her, she's like, you don't care?
And Kevin, trying his best to be the good, grounded friend,
yes,
says, no, I don't want to see it because I do care. Harles, I'm worried about you.
And we get a nice back and forth here in the next page, where we just cut back between Harley and Kevin as they just
talk and eat their breakfasts.
And in response to Kevin worrying about her, Harley's like, why? Because my girlfriend isn't around to babysit me? A wise woman once said, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of criminal mischief. That's something she said earlier in the comic.
Yeah, it's a direct quote from herself. And then she paraphrases herself immediately afterwards.
You should have seen the stuff Iverson and I got into before you knew us.
Which is basically exactly what she said to her hyenas.
Yes.
But Kevin states that he was a little worried when Ivy left, but he decided to be a good friend and keep it to himself, rather than dumping his worries on Harley before anything happened. But then he points out that now she is in a violent prank war of some sort with Two-Face.
It's
very
a lot.
well-placed question marks.
Yeah. It's very good. It's very good. I'm really glad that this is my first impression with Kevin, because I'm already, very, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm glad I got the chance to. But Harley says, well, I need something to fill the void now that my girlfriend's out of town. And then says, at the sex joke, little guy, try and keep up.
As she is also spinning half of her bagel on her finger as she eats the other half.
Yes.
And Kevin is just quietly cracking his hard-boiled egg.
Just staring at her with one raised eyebrow.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Kevin, will you hang on for just a sec? Because her phone starts ringing.
Yeah.
Thanks,
she
babe.
gets a phone call.
And she says, I got a thing over here to see a guy. You just eat your French toast sticks. As police sirens become louder and louder, and it dawns on Kevin what is happening.
And he says, Harley.
And again, this comic, this first issue we've read, just does so much to set up their relationship and makes us feel like, oh, they've been through this a lot. And Kevin's just really. Oh. And the police shout for Harley to come out with her hands up and says that you costume criminals can't torment the people of this city anymore. And then Harley, stepping into a back room, remarks,
You hear that, Two-Face? They're tidy as shit.
and then Two-Face remarks that they're talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
And says that, while he has to admit she has been a thorn in his side lately, what can he say? He's impressed. And he says that 2 is always better than 1. And then proposes, what do you say, Quinn? Partners? And we cut to Harley giving herself up.
Just walking out of Le Bistro with her hands up.
Yes. Just going, blah.
Kevin, did they ever bring out your cherubites, or was the kitchen staff all hiding in terror? I can probably grab them for you without getting shot.
And, yeah. Then she, as she's being
Harley
cuffed.
is promptly arrested. Too much to her objections.
For all she knew, they were here for Two-Face.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do anything. Two-Face did this.
Well, the cop just remarks, looks like your pal left you to take the fall.
And Harley says, he's not my pal, he's inside! He's still there!
Yeah. As he gets led into a cop car, she notices that Kevin is with the cops.
And she says,
Kevin, you're with the cops? You betrayed me at brunch. Ex-Benedict Arnold.
And Kevin says, something's got to set you straight, Harley. You're freaking everyone out.
and Harley, in a beautiful line which I adore, just says, don't you dare call me straight, And then she realizes,
Shit, Ivy, I can't lose the apartment.
Kevin, putting a hand on the glass of the police window, says, I'm sorry, Harley, but you gotta learn, as she is yelling, presumably fuck, with both middle fingers up, with them being very humorously pixelated.
yes, it's very good.
We then cut to court. Harley is dressed in the regular prison orange and has her glasses.
And I would like to point out here that there's something that I noticed that we got to this part in the comic. Harley's skin. Now that's a really weird sentence, and I'm sorry I even said it, but so for ever since the New 52 happened, part of Harley's origin is that she, like the Joker, got her skin bleached completely white as a way to show she really, really loved the Joker, or at least that's how it was told in Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I think the general idea is that she jumped into the vat of chemicals to prove how much she cares about him or whatever, and it's like, in her original incarnation, she did not have the bleached skin, and the white was always just face makeup as part of her costume. And that was true to her character until 2011, when the New 52 happened.
Yeah, and I don't like how they've depicted her since the New 52, honestly. I like how they've done before.
Yeah, I feel like the skin bleaching was always pretty unnecessary and didn't really add anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It certainly made Margot Robbie more physically uncomfortable having to play the role, needing to get so much of her skin make-upped up, because they also were putting her in skimpy outfits.
Yeah.
So, there are provable negative consequences to the New 52 skin bleaching.
Yeah.
But
here she's just natural peach skin tone here.
yeah, and I think she keeps appearing this way for the rest of the comic. Previously, she was pale like normal, but Yeah, I'm not sure why,
It could
but
be that she, like in the 1989 film with Joker, that she is applying peach skin tone on top of her bleached skin.
which I believe is something that Harley does,
Hmm.
like in previous comics. I think I've seen that before in modern
Yes.
comics. Though it does seem strange that she would be able to do that in a jail situation. So I don't know. It's certainly interesting to just
Hmm.
see Harley's natural skin tone again.
Yeah, it is a welcome change, and I hope we keep seeing it. And we probably will.
Yeah. Um, the Judds starts all.
Talking about how unconventional the hearing is. Um, but they have a rather unconventional record with Miss Quinzel, as we can all imagine.
Yeah.
And he remarks, he just gives the general spiel that people give whenever they talk about Harley Quinn, saying she's a brilliant woman with a criminal past, and while there was a time when her actions could be attributed to the bad influence of the Joker, which Harley immediately resents him bringing
Yeah.
up. That time has now passed. With the freedom from his influence comes the responsibility for her own actions.
The Judds does not remark on or notice Harley's objection and simply continues on.
Mm-hmm. Saying that he has asked the GCPD to compile all of the recent complaints against her, and they are forced to take action. Dozens of counts of criminal mischief, several counts of vandalism, property damage, felony, menace, which is a hilarious term already. But then Harley says,
Melanie Fennis? I think she was my roommate last time I was in prison.
The Judge does not take kindly to this,
no, he doesn't like it.
asking if everything is a joke to her. And then he goes on a rant
Yes.
saying, "You costume types never really made sense to me until I realized that most of you don't have anything to go home to." And he says that what keeps him behaving is that he's not particularly kind-hearted, but he has a life to go back to. He has a wife, 4 kids, a freestyle canoe recital next month.
Mm-hmm. And he says that if she doesn't have anything to lose, she's better off behind bars. And then Harley retorts,
No, wait, I have so much to lose. I turned away from working with Two-Face. I'm just having a little fun. I have an apartment. I have,
and then with 2 angels holding up the banner, reads the word, girlfriend.
2 angels that are wearing Harley's, iconic classic jester cap.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the judge is not very impressed. Just saying, that's nice, Quinzel. She can send you money for honey buns and ramen noodles while she's in the clink. And then, Harley's like,
no, you can't send me to jail. I could do so well out here. I could go to school and be a doctor.
The judge, of course, points out, "You are a doctor."
And then, light bulb, as Harley says,
I am a doctor. I am a doctor!
And the judge gets an idea.
mm-hmm.
Because Gotham City Community College needs professors desperately. The pay is in fact too low to retain hirees.
Mm-hmm.
So he's thinking forced labor.
Community service, Miss Quinzel, that's what you need, he says.
Take that brilliant psychologist brain of yours and put it to use in a place where it'll reach those who need it.
Oh, thank you, Freyo. I'm trying to channel Arlene Sorkin with my Harley. But, Harley's light bulb that was shining so bright just moments ago shatters as she's like,
wait, what?
And we cut to Gotham City Community College as Harley is teaching her first lesson.
Her first class with all these students.
All these fucking youngins.
Harley is clearly out of her element.
trying to hold on to, like, vague memories of what she learned years ago and has not applied in years since. Okay, so that's called relativism, she says. And write that down, because boy, oh boy, is that going to come up again. And that's about all I had planned for day one. Any questions? She asks in front of a very excruciatingly unimpressed classroom.
Yeah. But she does get a question.
Okay, you in the, shirt?
And we get Jen Grantley here.
An engineering major.
And, as a student who is here to optimize her education per dollar ratio and objects to playful remarks about community college being a drain catch for academic losers, she asks, what are Harley's qualifications? She read the news and doesn't share Judge Hawthorne's fondness for using students as criminal reform experiments. Fucking fed. Fucking piece of shit. Hate this student already. I hope she burns.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Harley gets to actually have a cool moment.
she stands up for herself.
Well, I got my undergrad in biology at Gotham U because I wanted to be a vet, but I pivoted to psych and got my doctorate, where I published all sorts of journal articles and the thesis and all other kinds of junk. Not to brag, but if you look up the Joker in basically any library in Gotham, you can't shake a clown shoe without running into something I wrote. Also, my tunes are completely loony, so I'm a case study of my own making. Anything else?
It's a very funny line.
It is, and I also feel I feel at this point, as we are reading a Harley Quinn comic, that some of these lines you might think, oh, well, isn't that a bit brass, maybe a bit insensitive? Well, here's the thing. Harley is nuts.
Yes.
And guess who else is nuts? Me! But we don't have to go into that.
Yeah.
But also, Tini Howard had an interview before this comic came out.
Yes. Where she remarked on how, like, just mentally ill gals like her, like, you know, just have their own shit to deal with, and she was channeling that as she wrote the comic.
So, basically, consider that line own voices, and be happy about it.
Yeah, just this comic, just the whole thing, just imagine that, own voices. Okay, we're good? We're good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And then, one very, very adorable student has a very, 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 very big question for Harleen.
Yeah. An abnormal psych question about relativism, she says. Asking, how do you account for things that transcend cultures? For example, people go crazy for love in every society. It holds us together or drives us to die, but modern science calls it chemical. So, do you think that love is a force that transcends cultures? Or are the mundane chemicals that govern lust and partnership strong enough to drive us mad?
We get a nice shot amidst all of that of Harley just staring with a nervous smile as all of that is being laid out.
Very strained-looking smile in front of the blackboard.
With Harley saying,
That's a really good question, kid.
I just would like to point out that, like, this kid is, probably not meaning to, but, like, is kind of asking a question that's very close to home for Harley.
Yeah, but also maybe they are meaning to.
Yeah,
we'll see. I have a feeling this student is going to come up again.
I hope so. But Harley's answer gets interrupted.
Very interrupted when a student yells pointing out the window saying, Dr. Quinzel, look out.
As a fucking car bursts into the classroom. As Harley just says, or as Two-Face says, I promised you die, Quinn. And Harley shouts, ah! Students, out in the hall! Tornado drill rules! And then she points out, you asked me to be partners! And Two-Face says, and you hated it, so I'm back to wanting you dead.
Very,
Good old Two-Face.
very fun. It's a flip of the coin.
Yeah. And Harley says that she's done. She's out.
I've been to court. I'm doing community service. It took a court order to make it happen, but I got class, and I ain't about to let you ruin it.
And
I like, I don't know if this is deliberate, but I feel like there is a joke in here where Harley is mixing up having class and having a class.
yes.
Because she has a class. I don't think she has class.
No, she definitely doesn't. But
Which is beautiful. I love her.
yeah. She opens up a drawer at her desk and pulls out her massive fucking mouth that could not have fit there.
But that's okay.
Yeah. And Two-Face remarks, good luck with your little hammer. I'm going to flatten you into the pavement. Only
But then
yeah.
she takes her hammer, and because Two-Face is, of course, driving his iconic Two-Face mobile, where one half is all messed up and the other half is all pristine, and she busts out the headlight on the nice half.
Which he is furious about, and declares that he is going to kill this bitch with his bare hands. It's censored, but that's what he said.
It is.
And Harley declares, come get some, Harvey. This is between you and me. And
He picks up a table to throw at her. She does some backflipping, and
there's some really good, very, very Tini Howard writing of a man acting very put out by a woman, saying he tried to make peace with her, but now it's war. He'll stop when she and Ivy are both a smear in his rearview mirror. God, Tini Howard is so good at writing emotionally childish men.
Harley, of course, remarks, you mean this mirror? And masses out the rearview mirror on his car's good side.
Again! And then, Two-Face says, you little, only for him to swing and miss, with Harley saying, you missed me! But then Harley kicks her. He's going, ha!
Harvey.
Harvey?
You said Harley.
Yeah. And
Two-Face.
Two-Face says, it's called a feint. And then,
He gets her hammer. The jerk.
and he says, mine now, flip you for it. And Harley declares,
Big mistake, buddy.
that thing isn't as easy to use as it looks. And Two-Face says he'll figure it out. And then
He
swings and really
takes a
misses.
big swing, which leaves, of course, him totally off guard.
And Harley remarks that it's a perfect shot, but if only she had something to hit him with, something real good, something, only for her to look down at something and say, oh, perfect.
And in comes Harley's narration.
Hi, me again. This is where things really stop making sense. I mean, full-on bananas cream pudding. You know, in the moment, you're just so happy to win a fight that you don't question it.
And then we see Two-Face being whacked in the face by a fucking cartoon fish.
Yeah, because Harley has grabbed off of the ground a massive white cartoon fist
Fucking
And
Looney
has-
Tunes ass bitch.
and has slugged Two-Face right in the face, knocking him unconscious.
Later, afterward,
Yeah,
Harley
as everything is being picked up, the cops have come and taken Two-Face away and all that, and the students are, sort of cleaning the room up a bit.
good for them.
Harley asks, can you stick him in jail?
And the cop replies, that guy's legal team? Not a chance. I'd say just try carrying pepper spray and says he's glad to see Harley making better choices.
And Harley is just not doing well, as she's like, yeah, thanks, officer, great work. Fuck.
And then the student with the very big question from before comes up and says, I'm sorry if I got a little deep and intense on day one of class, and introduces herself as Summer Sheridan.
Good for her. And Harley answers, glad to have you. I was always that girl too. Glad there are students here who are real passionate. Anyway, I'm sure I'm about to get fired. Only for Summer to remark,
They're desperate. I don't think they can afford to fire you.
which Harley says, interesting.
With just the most, evil little gremlin smile on her face.
Yes.
And then Summer remarks, oh, don't forget to get that thing. It's going to start to stink.
With Harley going, huh? And then looking down at the fish, saying, you could see it too? And so, in the next page, we're back at Harley's pigsty of apartment. As she narrates, yeah, the fish, the smile. He's the first thing I thought of too. But this thing ain't from this world. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Enough so that I thought it was just, a common but mildly concerning psychotic break. But it's still here. And,
The fist turns, the dead fist with exercise turns to smile at her before going back to being a dead fist.
And she's like, fuck off, that's not real! And then she says, breathe, 10, 9, 8, 4, 3, 2... As she goes through her refrigerator, only to be interrupted by a dialogue bubble with a yellow outline.
As a being of cosmic proportions comes out of her fridge, and suddenly we are less in her apartment and more staring at the multiverse.
As the cosmic being bellows, Harley Quinn, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Harley, staring at this massive cosmic being of epic proportions,
A massive woman cloaked in fire.
just beautiful, honestly. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Harley says, "Oh my God, who are you?"
And she introduces herself as Tasana, known as Lady Quark to her subject. And goes on this very big backstory. Her family are powerful as stars, with the energy of atoms, and they protect within the multiverse. And she declares that Harley is a multiversal criminal, an enemy of the royal family of Earth-48, and a potential crisis.
To which Harley humorously responds, "Potential crisis? Lady, have you looked around this place? I'm currently in a crisis. Can I call you lady?"
Tasana remarks that Harley will call her Your Majesty.
Tisana, of course, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez in Crisis on Infinite Earths. But Harley, with hands up, says, "I will call you whatever you want, but I promise you, all of my crimes are solidly in this voice, and I'm paying for them. Here, I wake up so early, I have to do lesson plans. Have I not paid enough?"
Tasana goes on to, hype herself up and explain the situation, saying that her family is more powerful than gods. Talks about how their world was destroyed in the first crisis, and as a response, they've protected the multiverse ever since, from their new home on Earth-48, strongest of worlds.
And that some of their most powerful worlds are their most resilient, though they may look funny to you at first. They can bounce back from incredible trauma, And there's a nice little metaphor for Harley Quinn that's gonna get wrapped around this whole comic.
Yeah, and we see 3 Earths behind Tasana as he talks. One looking pretty Earth-like, one with red land, and then one with a big cartoon face and a little cartoon bandage in the corner.
Yeah. And Tashauna declares that she will not let Harley risk these brave soldiers, her family, her daughter, and then Harley interjects,
You want me to marry her? Some real Game of Thrones shit? I'm very flattered, but I got a girlfriend.
Tasana continues on, saying, no. The barriers between the worlds are semi-permeable for those of great power. Sorcerers and others can access it, but they do so, very responsibly. But Harley has done so recklessly.
Harley, with just Macaulay Culkining it with her with her hands on her face, says,
What are you talking about? What does that have to do with me?
And then Tashauna, dead seriously, holds up the silly cartoon fish and says, This is not yours.
So good. It's so good.
Harley says,
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what that is or how it even got here. I've been seeing more and more weird cartoon stuff lately, and I always assume it just meant I need to up my dosage, but...
and she gets interrupted.
Tasana says that Harley has punched a ragged hole through the multiverse and taken this from another Earth, leaving it weak and tattered. Because this was the weapon of a great warrior in his hour of need. And now it has ended up in Harley's hands. That warrior has lost the battle he was destined to win, and things are irrevocably changed. And it is a cartoon fish.
It's just... Oh, this feels like... Oh, this comic feels like it's going to be skewering all the self-serious DC stuff, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I don't know how I did it!
Tasana goes on to say that the risk of contagion is too high. Harley does it again, and she will cut off as much as she has to stop the spread. If that means killing Harley, destroying Gotham, or destroying the whole Earth, so be it. And leaves declaring, Make your mistake again, Harley Quinn, and your Earth will cease to be.
And then a very, very, very close-up shot of Harley's eye. She says,
But, where would Ivy and I live?
with the narration saying, next time. Harley, will there be a next time? And that's the end of the A story, written by Tini Howard. Oh my god. Should we just do the B story before we wrap up, or...?
Yeah, there's not much to it, so let's just sort of briefly talk over the B story, because it's just a funny little add-on.
Yeah, it's very it's Sailor Moon, very much.
Yeah, so it describes a version of Harley who was Harleen Quinzel, who was just, hanging out in Arkham with her best friends, Selena Kyle and
Pamela
Eiley. Until one day, a magic golden hammer smacked her on the face, the relic of Clown.
And that's how she became lovely angel Harley Quinn.
With her sidekick of a hyena in a pink bow and a tutu as her Luna animal companion.
Yes.
She fights against the evil Bruce Wayne.
The evil but devilishly handsome billionaire Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
All of Gotham is under his spell. Can Harley Quinn save us this time?
Yeah, and it's a very cute. This lovely Angel Harley Quinn B story is simply credited to by Erica Henderson. So I assume she did all the writing and art and stuff.
Yeah.
With letters by Hassan Osmain El How. I'm not familiar with that name. Apologies if I did not pronounce it correctly.
But good lettering from Hassan.
Yes.
But yeah, she's fighting against a man-bat, and then we cut to the Gotham City skyline as thunder just crackles around Wayne Tower as we hear.
And Bruce Wayne is Otsosama laughing.
Oh, did our little clown think that it would be so easy? He says to his bat hound Ace. Maybe she'd like to know the true power of the heart of the city. And then Man-Bat grows several times its original size, and Harley almost swears, but editorial said nope.
Yeah, like we can see behind this editor's note that it is the usual like symbol censoring, but there is a classic yellow editor's note that just says nope.
Mm-hmm. Later in the comic, it happens again with just the editorial note saying still nope. Harley gets stomped over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And her hyena
says, quickly, Harley, you have to call the other lovely angels, with lovely angels, of course, being in beautiful pink cursive.
Yes. And Harley says, nuh-uh. None of you ever believe that I can... And then she gets stomped again. And she sighs and holds up a just very clown emoji communicator, as it says.
It's like a makeup kit thing.
Yeah.
But it's a clown face.
And it says, group chat power, activate! And we cut to Pamela and Selina in Arkham as they respond to their communicator, or the call anyway.
This is like a clown face in between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Pamela's like, what now?
And Harley, while reading Cat Mag... Selina, while reading Cat Mag, says, this better count toward my community service. As they both hold their transformers.
We briefly see their little transformation gadgets. Pamela, of course, has a green, like, flower one.
Selina has more of a, like, very
golden,
ornate cat thing.
Yeah. And then we get them posing. And
then Harley says, when you're all done posing, I could use a little help down here! As they are both...
There's a beautiful visual gag where we just see them both on a white background with various little hearts and cats and flowers in the background, doing their poses. And then in the next panel, they are posing to either side of Harley, facing her, as she is just stuck in the ground, in the pavement.
And so Pamela and Selina start telling Harley they told her so, basically.
You know, he makes the big monster every time.
And Harley's like, I know! And Selina starts, if he just calls from the start, and Harley just says, I know! And then, after another stomp...
Which they barely does.
Harley's like, that's it! And then they all say, super magical bestie robot activation! And the Man-Bat monster is surprised as they turn into a Megazord.
Just a giant pink robot, which then pulls out a giant golden just handgun.
As they declare, taste the power of true friendship!
With friendship, of course, being in the big, beautiful pink cursive font. And then they just blast a hole through the monster.
And then Harley says, "Eat it, loser!" And then as she
slumps over dead.
Yeah, it's very dead. And
very silly.
Yes. And then Harley, hugging the two together, she says, "You gals, I learned a valuable lesson today about accepting help from others. Now let's all get back to Arkham before they fire my ass." No, wait. And she says as they immediately escape. No, wait. Let's talk about it. This is why I have trust issues.
And the two girls yell, "Bye!" And then the hyena is just its head is there at the bottom saying, "Next time, Harley Quinn sleeps through her alarm. Maybe don't stay up all night torrenting 90s anime, you weeb!"
And that's the comic.
Yeah, the B story is, of course, very silly and irreverent. Doesn't really impact too much, I think, the main thing we want to talk about, which is the main story by Tini Howard.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun sort of little bonus thing to have.
We'll see if the other B stories that happen as the comic goes forward are neat.
Yeah, because I believe I remember reading that like a sort of rotating cast of writers will be doing the side story at the end.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes. But as far as this main line story here of issue 28 of Harley Quinn goes, honestly,
I love it.
Big part of me wishes that this was just a number 1.
I mean, for all we know, it might just be Harley Quinn #1 in the collected volume. Because they did that for Catwoman.
Yeah, it was just Catwoman Volume 1 of
Dangerous
Tini Howard.
Liaisons.
Pretty cool. Because I very much want to recommend people just start here. Don't even try. I tried and it was a mistake.
Yeah, just...
Tini Howard is an excellent, excellent writer, and just basically every comic she's written that I've read, I have loved, and I can recommend just anything on the strength of her name. Basically.
Yeah, honestly, we've reviewed a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog comic books, and so like in that time, I'm sure people who watch our channel here understand that when a book has Evan Stanley's name on it, we generally expect good things. That is very much the case when Tini Howard's name is on a book.
Yeah. Tini Howard is a fantastic writer. She's absolutely one of my favorite comic writers of the modern day. I think she is one of the best writers in comics nowadays.
Absolutely, yeah.
You would be so lucky to be blessed to have her writing on your book.
If I may just try and speak something into the world while we're streaming here, I would love it if she did get to write on Sonic, you know, if she has even a passing interest.
I would love to see what she could do with Ruse.
Right? Oh,
God.
Oh, with any of the girls, you know?
Yeah.
Because Tini Howard writes capital F, feminist, capital Q, queer, fucking comic books, and
yeah.
I
mean,
I love them.
Like we said, she's written Catwoman, who is super queer. She's now writing Harley Quinn, also super queer. Also, we mentioned that she's written Excalibur. Now, something you might know about Excalibur is that the Tini Howard run from just recently, just a couple of years ago, headlined by Betsy Braddock. You may remember her from being in someone else's body. She's in her own body nowadays. Anyway, she's Captain Britain now, and she's queer and has a girlfriend.
Yeah, Rachel fucking Summers.
You know, Rachel Summers, the daughter of, that one.
Yeah.
From the future.
Today.
Yeah, her.
It's just, there is so many good comic books you can get from Tini Howard, and now you can add Harley Quinn to the pile.
Mm-hmm.
This is still really good, even though, like, there was definitely just a sour feeling going into this, because of issue 1.
Yeah, and yeah, I had briefly looked at issue 27 after we read this for the review to see if there was any context, and no, I skimmed it, and number one, I was incredibly tired because it was a Stephanie Phillips comic. But yeah, you do not need to read any of Stephanie Phillips. You can just start right here at Harley Quinn, number 28 by Tini Howard. And I really recommend that you do so if you've got any interest in what we've talked about today, and add this one to just what you're going to be picking up if you're, looking to pick up a new comic.
I've subscribed to this series on Amazon because of Tini Howard's just amazing work. She just really, and not only like she didn't just like step into the series with like nothing taken from what happened before. We have Kevin.
Yeah.
It's just he's being used more thoughtfully now.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I do want to point out, because I was so disgusted by issue 1 that I didn't read anymore, I can't speak to how Kevin has been handled since issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not going to read that.
First impressions matter.
I have a bit of a rule about sort of reviewing things and stuff, which is that, like, bit of an unpopular opinion. I think it's fine to review something that you haven't finished. If your review, if the point of it is, I hated it and couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Because that is a criticism.
Uh-huh.
If you could not keep me, if you could not make me want to stay all the way to actually get to the end, that's on you,
That's
not
not
me.
a failure on the reader. It's a failure on the writer. That's the whole point of making a comic, is people gotta want to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Like, we never even finished reviewing that Scrapnik Island miniseries that we have 3 reviews of.
Yeah, because...
It was not worth it. It was not worth our time.
Mm-hmm. Among other things,
And sometimes that's just how it goes. But now Harley Quinn's being written by Tini Howard.
And we have another comic to look forward to reviewing every week. Or not every week, every month, even.
Every month. If we had to do all of these comics every week,
Oh, boy.
I would be so exhausted.
Oh, boy.
I mean, there'd be so much Tini Howard comic, but
That'd be good.
I don't think I could
boy.
keep up a review schedule on that.
But one issue of Harley Quinn, one issue of Catwoman, one issue of Betsy Braddock every month, for at least as long as the Betsy Braddock comic comes and goes.
Yeah, it's a miniseries.
Oh, man. But yeah, this is really good. I like that Tini Howard is tapping back into just Harley's Harleen side. Because that is a legitimate part of her. And you can see a little bit of it in, like, Birds of Prey and, like... You were going to say something.
It's a part of Harley that can easily get overlooked, just like...
Yeah.
The fact that, she was a psychologist. She worked at Arkham Asylum. That's how the whole thing with the Joker happened. That's how it all went down. And, like, there have been various ways that part of her existence has been treated. Some irreverently, some maybe, a lot, misogynistically.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention...
her creators.
Yeah, like her co-creator Paul Dini in the very popular story Mad Love. He posited that Harley Quinn got ahead by sleeping her way through college.
Yeah.
And this comic does not seem to take that tact, as it just sets that, like, she was the student that was always asking the very technical questions that were really deep and involved.
Yeah.
And...
In general, I feel like that idea has been just quietly moved away from in the years since.
Yeah, because it's really misogynistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly Harley and, Harleen Quinzel, the woman she was before she became a cackling, hammer-wielding clown lady, is a part of her life that's been given more respect. I remember reading I guess it's not that recent now, because it was around the same time as the Harley Quinn, this Harley Quinn comic debuted, and it's on its 28th issue, so, it's been around a while now.
Yeah.
There was an issue of, I think it was Batman. I don't remember who was writing Batman at the time, but I remember Harley had a scene in it where there was, like, an escapee or an ex-patient or something from the
Arkham?
asylum who she had worked with. And the cops were menacing this guy, and, she stood up for him with a fucking baseball bat, because he wasn't a danger to anyone, he just needed his meds, is all.
Yeah.
And it was a great, I really liked that moment, and I felt like that moment very much book back to her time as a doctor.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to see it being used also in an interesting way here.
Absolutely.
Everything about community college times is really making me look forward to what we're gonna get.
Absolutely. I'm so thrilled to see what Tini Howard does with this setting.
I assume that Two-Face will also be still relevant because, his legal team and all.
And
but
I think as I thought about it, you finish actually.
I think like the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is how this whole community college, community service thing goes.
Yeah.
There you go.
As I've thought about it, the choice of Two-Face as a villain is actually pretty interesting because Two-Face is another person who we got to see before his transformation into an extraordinary rogue of Gotham. Because he was the principled attorney, Harvey Dent. And he and Harley are both characters who were decent people before they went crazy.
Yeah.
And to that end, I want to point out that we've reviewed Batman comics before, and you might have been able to tell from those reviews that we happen to like the Joker a whole lot.
Yeah.
And a big part of the past several years of Harley Quinn history has just been to really take Harley away from the Joker, under the notion that tying Harley to him only serves to just put her down as a character and make her just a victim to him. I don't think that's necessarily has to be the case, but that's how people have decided to spin it. And
yeah.
Tini Howard is someone who has identified as having mental illnesses as she writes this, and using that as a lens for her writing. And Joker was brought up more than once in this issue, so the mind does wonder, where will this go, and how it'll inevitably be a lot different from how just Joker and Harley's whole thing has ever been depicted, because a lot of the time when Joker and Harley are written about, it's done with this extraordinary just lens of this crazy abuser uses evil mental illnesses to peel away the sanity of this innocent woman.
Yeah. It's often written from a distressingly sane lens.
Yes. And I feel confident enough in saying that I don't think Tini Howard is really writing from that lens. And
yeah.
I am interested in seeing, what happens with that, or if nothing else, what happens going forward between Harley and Harvey.
Yeah. Certainly, the Joker's been brought up, as you said. He was brought up directly in court, and then, with the fist, he was brought up. And both times, it was in a relatively neutral stance in terms of Harley's reaction to it.
Yes.
Which doesn't really give me a clue on how we're going to touch on Harley's emotions, because
yeah,
I think I don't know editorially where the Joker is and whether or not the Joker will be free to be in a comic like Harley Quinn anytime soon, or maybe at any time when Tini Howard is writing it, because the Joker's a big character, and the DC editors are definitely going to be careful about what happens with Joker, and he keeps getting involved in these really big storylines that I don't have the patience or time to read all the way through. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's so busy. He's doing so much stopping laughing.
But because this book, Harley Quinn, is definitely in regular DC continuity with everyone else. and a particular reality when it comes to these big superhero comics is that you don't always get to tell the story you would like to tell
Yeah.
because the editors do have to sign off on it.
Mhm.
So how much Joker gets brought up is going to depend on a lot of factors, including Tini Howard's interest, the editors willing to sign off, and all that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict like how the Joker will be involved, but I feel pretty confident at the very least we are going to at some point have to just talk about Harley's feelings when it comes to the Joker. I don't know if it'll be soon or if it'll be later, but I'm very curious to see how Tini Howard handles that.
I think it's going to be a lot more mature than we usually get.
Yeah, I am somewhat trepidatious because, like, I am not sane. I am mentally unwell. Honestly, lowering the fields a bit. I'm sometimes concerned about myself and my mind, because it can be scary. It can be really scary being in an abnormal mind, and it certainly doesn't help when so much of culture, our media and all that, are so down on the idea of insanity. And
yeah,
I basically stand by my stance that, like, the Joker is the ultimate example of the crazy person villain.
Yeah.
His sanity or lack thereof is stigmatized in a way that, like, other characters don't get to that degree. I mean, it's Batman. There are the usual Batman caveats, yada yada, sanity and insanity and all that are all over the politics of Batman.
Yeah.
But Joker is the biggest. He is the craziest man alive.
Mm-hmm.
He is the opposite of Jim Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
And alongside that comes a lot of other cultural expectations, depending on what context you put the craziest man alive in.
Mm-hmm.
He's been shown as a brutal murderer because that's what crazy people are. He's been shown as a cannibal because that's what crazy people are,
Mm-hmm.
He's been shown as a wily, genius, brilliant trickster because that's what crazy people are. And he has been shown as an abuser because that's what crazy people are.
Yeah. And that is a big part of, like, the pathos of Harley Quinn, as it's been decided among many modern writers of Harley Quinn, where they just kind of take what has unfortunately been a prevalent part of just modern culture around, like, particularly personality disorders, like narcissistic personality disorder, like just cluster B disorders.
Yeah, cluster B personality disorder. I'm not fully up to date on all the terminology, but I do know that when people are talking out in defense of this, they talk about the stigmatization against cluster B personality disorders.
Yes.
And a lot of that is wrapped up in what we get with how the Joker is presented as being an abuser. He's being presented as manipulative, not just for being manipulative, but because he's a narcissist and yada yada. And it's
a lot of the time, like, the least offensive ones you get are just when Joker is kind of just an insecure guy who can't handle not being the funniest one in the room around Harley.
Yeah,
like, which I don't really enjoy.
I personally just find boring.
Yeah, and see, with Tini Howard, she her wheelhouse often deals with a lot of, like, here's the villain and here's a massive misogynist, like with Black Mask and Catwoman, and to some extent, Two-Face is a bit of a sexist dick here.
Yeah,
and so I do wonder if she's going to take that tact, but she's just kind of impressed me a lot. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions, and whatever she decides to do, I'm going to hear her out.
Certainly, when I think about Tini Howard's writing and the kind of, like, man villains that we get, it does make me uncertain about, like, whether or not I want to see the Joker, because
Yeah.
the thing is, people don't have to agree with me. Tini Howard doesn't have to have the same view of what the Joker means to her versus what the Joker means to me.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't see in the Joker what I see, and she takes a tack that I personally find disappointing, that's okay. That's her right. She is a writer, and importantly, she is not coming at the Joker, no matter what, from that same exact lens as all of the sane men who write the Joker do.
Yeah. Freya writes in chat, I see way too much stigma against people with cluster B disorders, and it makes me feel unsafe and stressed. Yeah, it is very upsetting.
It sucks a lot, you know?
I'm not someone who at least has been diagnosed with anything like that. I don't think I have anything like that, but people have, in the past, kind of projected that sort of stigma onto a past abusive relationship that I had. Saying that that person I was with had that, and that just makes me really upset because I think it would be very, like, bordering on self-harm if I took my feelings about my abuser and projected them onto every single person with a certain kind of brain. That would be massively, like, unhealthy for me, unhelpful, and just cruel. So yeah, I very much just hate that stigma, and I would enjoy it if this Harley Quinn comic decided to do something a little different with Joker than has been done before. But no matter what, like Cluster was saying, like, Tini Howard is not obligated to have our perspective about Joker and where he stands with mental illness and how they get depicted in media. She's very much drawing from her own personal experiences as she writes Harley, and also just, like, you know, there's some abstracting. I'm not saying, you know, every one of these things is autobiographical. Tini Howard, I don't want to, like, anyone to get that idea from me talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you know, just to some extent, some of this is written from just the general experience of being a mentally ill woman in a fucked up world, and I definitely appreciated reading that in this issue, and I'm really looking forward to what we see next from Tini Howard on Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and something I want to bring up on that note is that when it comes to sort of searching for the words here, when someone is writing from a deeply personal perspective, I feel like you do, to some degree, need to think about that in something of a different way when it comes to the way that you criticize. I don't mean that you need to put on the kid gloves or anything. You know, a story is still a story, writing is still writing. You still have all those same capabilities to talk about things in a way that you think is appropriate, and, you know, if you have a story criticism, you have a story criticism, that's fine. But when something is coming from a more personal place, I think you need to acknowledge that, and you need to take that into account. There are a lot of times, there have been a lot of times recently on the internet where there have been these really gross harassment brigades. I mean, harassment brigades are always really gross, but like, against people writing stories, just writing, you know, very much from a personal perspective, very much writing their own personal perspectives on things, and getting lambasted as if they are someone writing about something they have no business to.
Yes.
And because sometimes it feels like the fact that it's coming from a personal place, the fact that this person has the right to speak on this issue, gets deliberately ignored in order to just justify in some way, in their own minds, I guess, just getting so much hate against this person, and it's really gross. It's very disgusting, in my opinion, and a little unrelated, a little related, but I did want to just sort of talk about how when someone is talking from a personal perspective, you need to see that. You need to acknowledge that and look at that and be
Give
cognizant.
space to that.
Yeah. Because the fact is, there are certain things that if a white cis man writes them, everyone should call him out for that. But there are plenty of other people who would be able to write that thing, and it would be just like they're allowed, quite frankly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am trans, and I am disabled, and I am fucking nuts, and I'm allowed to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and privileged people might say, "Well, that's unfair. Why can't I do this?" Well, fuck you.
Yeah,
That's all I
not
have to say
even
about
worth,
that.
not even worth fucking acknowledging. But yeah, we've reviewed a very wonderful comic and gone on a lot about just
Is our hopes, our thoughts, our speculation, what this comic made us think about.
yeah. Sometimes in these reviews we do just kind of it's been happening a lot in Deadly Duo as well with
Yes.
the Joker. We've just ended up going on these sorts of philosophical tangents in a way, but I don't think that this is not the place for them. I think this is the place for them because if art provokes thought, I think that is relevant to the art
Yes.
in a way.
Absolutely.
And talking about a comic not just for what it is, but in its place in the world, its place within comics, and all of that, I think is important.
I think so too.
I think if we get onto a bit of a philosophical conversation, I point that as a point of praise towards a comic in most cases.
I think so too.
It made us think.
It did. And that's the issue for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. We try to see them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays like today, Thursdays like a day from after tomorrow. Please feel free to follow our Twitch channel, which is linked to in the video description of every VOD we post. And if you want to check out those VODs, which is linked to in our Twitch profile, we post those. I think we try to do that on the same day they get streamed lately. And
yeah, depends.
And you can find our Twitch link from the description on there. But if you are there, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. Cluster reads the comments.
Yeah.
So definitely feel free to give us your thoughts, if you have any, and if you feel like giving them in a decent manner.
Please be baseline polite.
Yeah.
Because I won't allow your comment if you're a jerk, because why would I do that?
Yeah.
Just
ridiculous. But yeah.
Thank you, Freya, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was good to have you in chat. And until next time, I'm Felicia Rondo, and that's Cluster right on over there.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye-bye, y'all.